And up next on the program, we are honored to have Jeff Reinebold. He is calling the game with Will Gavin and Greg Rosenthal for talkSPORT. Jay, you'll be out there. We'll be out there with Jeff. Jeff, it's good to have you on the show, man. How's it going?
It's good to be back in London, even though by remote. It's awesome, man. We are here in Hawaii. It is 5:45 in the morning, and everybody's moving. So let's go.
Let's go and let's get into this. So the matchup, Jeff, that everyone is looking at is Patrick Mahomes versus Jalen Hurts. And obviously, you know the league, you know the sport. You're going to be calling this for talkSPORT. What do you see in this matchup? Because Jalen Hurts has kind of been hampered by injuries. He mentioned, kind of joked after the NFC Championship that he got out of the straitjacket. Patrick Mahomes is the new face of the NFL. But Patrick Mahomes isn't throwing for 350, 400 yards anymore. To me, it seems like we can talk about everything else, but the quarterback matchup and who wins that matchup will probably define the Super Bowl.
I think you're exactly correct. You know, the quarterback is the most difficult position to play in professional sport. And, you know, it is absolutely the key every matchup. And the bigger the game, the bigger the pressure on the quarterbacks. For Jalen Hurts, this is a chance at redemption. He's been to the Super Bowl, was not able to win it. Patrick Mahomes beat him last time on the last second drive. And he needs to be able to play well. He has to be efficient throwing the football. And again, Saquon Barkley is the key to the Eagles offense. But if you're Jalen Hurts, you're going to need to make plays both with your feet and with your arm if they're going to beat a really good Kansas City team and Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, look, Jeff, it feels like we need to talk about the three-peat, don't we, really? The Kansas City Chiefs, they have the opportunity to win 3 times in a row. Does this sort of feel like destiny to you?
Well, I don't know, Jay. One thing about it is never been done. You know, they've played the Super Bowl now for almost 60 years, and no team has ever been able to go back. There have been teams that have gone back 3 times, but there's never been a team that's won 3 straight. And so a three-peat would be a crowning jewel in Kansas City. And I think, you know, I don't know if there's a team that I can recall in recent memory that has found more ways to win than the Kansas City Chiefs had. They do not rely solely on Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce or the run game. They are a team that finds a way to win, and their defense has probably been the more outstanding unit of the two.
Jeff, we can go through the players and the quarterbacks and Travis Kelce and all these things, maybe some Taylor Swift. But for me, I look at the Chiefs and I look at I look at what is a dynasty and maybe the first ever three-peat in NFL history, and I think of one name, Andy Reid. What Andy Reid has been able to do with this team, he was a very good coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. He made the Super Bowl and fell short. But Andy Reid has truly put his stamp on this team. How has he been able to do this and have this high level of historic success by very much remaining true to who he is as a person, as a leader, as a family man, and as a head coach? That's not easy to do in the NFL.
Well, that's a great observation. You know, Andy Reid is Andy Reid, and, you know, he's very comfortable in his own skin. When you look at high-level professional sports, you know, we're talking about, you know, alpha males. We're talking about big egos. We're talking about guys that, you know, love to be loved, all of that. But if you look at Andy Reid, one of the defining things about his coaching style is that he deflects praise. He shares all of the accolades. He loves to spread the love, if you want to use the players' vernacular. And I think that's really important in how he's been able to get that team to play so well. Here's the thing about when you're winning championships, it's tougher to go back because everybody wants to take a bow. Everybody wants to write a book. Everybody wants to be the reason why. And, you know, he's been able to figure out the team psychology that everybody is now putting the Chiefs before themselves. And think about this. You know, you mentioned the Taylor Swift phenomenon. Imagine what it's like for other wives in that Kansas City Chief family when all of a sudden here comes Taylor Swift and all the cameras go to her and all the attention goes to her. Well, you know, the wives have egos too. They want their husband to be the reason. And so all of those things are some of the divisive things that can happen as you start to win championships. And somehow Andy, inside of his own personality, has been able to mitigate that and really create kind of a three musketeers, one for all and all for one mentality in Kansas City.
You know what's interesting, actually? I want to just pick up on something you said a moment ago, Jeff, there as well. I do see similarities between the Kansas City Chiefs, a dynasty or very near a dynasty, if not, and another team, a head coach who doesn't, go out for the limelight, superstar quarterback, a selection of players that you wouldn't necessarily say are the number one wide receiver, for example, or the best running back in the league. The quarterback just does it with the players that he's got. You can probably see where I'm going here. It does ring of the New England Patriots a little bit, doesn't it?
It is, and I think they have become the New England Patriots of this generation. In previous years when the Patriots were doing their thing, that was the evil empire. That was the team that you loved to hate. Everybody wanted to see them fall off their pedestal. And now that Kansas City, and this is really a unique phenomenon, a great point, Jay, Kansas City's a small market team from the middle of the United States. It's not New York. It's not LA. It's not Dallas. It's not, it's not Miami. It's not Flash and Dash. It's just Kansas City. And they have elevated that brand to the point where now everybody wants to see them crumble. And that's a phenomenon that's not unlike what we saw with Man U during the glory years, in the Premiership. So I think it's really interesting, and they kind of like that. I think you hear Travis Kelce talk in particular, and Mahomes will do the same. They kind of like being the guy that everybody has their gun pointed to, and as long as you can find your motivation in that, I think it's good for their football team.
Jeff, we're going to get into the Super Bowl coverage and doing all this with Will and the Superdome in a second. But, I also, let's go inside the trenches really quick, some inside football, because this is what you are really good at. I look at this Philadelphia Eagles defensive line, Jalen Carter, the pressure they were to bring against the Los Angeles Rams, the pressure they were to bring in the NFC Championship. And that, to me, is one of the Eagles' biggest strengths against a Kansas City Chiefs offensive line that is good, but not the best in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes has had a lot of pressure this year, and he's constantly had to throw the ball. He's leaning around. He's doing all these Mahomes things. How do the Chiefs handle that Philadelphia Eagles defensive line, Jalen Carter, because they can wreck a game and potentially take over the Super Bowl in the Superdome in New Orleans?
I think that's really good observation. You look at football, and in its very essence, you win the games up front. Now, obviously, everybody loves the great long passes and the great acrobatic catches and all of that. But really, the game is 60 minutes of a battle of big guys in the trenches. When you look at these two teams, you have to give Philadelphia the edge in that area because Jalen Carter and that crew, they can wreck your day. Now, when you look at Kansas City, Tooney, who's an all-pro guard, has had to move to tackle. Yeah. That's an incredibly difficult thing to do. Your footwork is all different. You're playing out in space where you're not used to playing. Their right tackle has been a revolving door all year. I think for Kansas City to be able to mitigate the pass rush of the Eagles, Andy's going to have to stay ahead of it on the chains. They have to be successful on first down. They can't get into long down and distance situations, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 6 or more, where that front can just pin its ears back and come after Mahomes. I think the chess match between Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator of the Eagles, who's one of the most respected veteran defensive coordinators in the league, and Andy Reid, who's the greatest play designer of our generation, I think that is going to be a really fun thing to break down for the fans on talkSPORT.
Well, yeah, talkSPORT is going to be there. It's going to be at the Super Bowl the week before. You're going to be able to see so much coverage on talkSPORT End Zone, on talkSPORT. And on the day itself, Jeff Reinebold, you're going to be covering it with us as well. We can't let you go without a prediction.
I love this game because there's so many great matchups that I think we're going to have. Steve Spagnuolo and Vic Fangio, we talked about the guys up front, the quarterbacks, what receiver's going to step up and make a play. I just really think that when you look at this game, and you cannot be the champ until you knock out the champ. And so right now I'm going to say Kansas City because as long as that guy that's wearing number 15 has the ball in his hands, the Kansas City Chiefs always have a chance.
Jeff, Chiefs, let's just do this real quick. Chiefs get the three-peat. That's what you're saying. Are you going to hit Bourbon, like the New Orleans, which is the best part? Everyone knows it's the best party city in the United States of America, one of the best party cities in the world. That is a fact. What is New Orleans, what is the French Quarter going to be like if the Chiefs are the first team in NFL history to have a three-peat and talkSPORT is covering it?
Well, if they get a three-peat, because I worked in Kansas City, I have friends there, I will be on Bourbon and I will be wearing red, and my plane leaves at 7 o'clock the next morning, and I might have a hurricane in my hand when I get on the plane.
There we go.
Hurricanes on Jeff. Heard it here. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, fellas, my pleasure. We'll see you from New Orleans.
All right, we'll see you in New Orleans, man. Thanks a lot.